Good afternoon, sir. In a good loud voice, would you please state your name and spell your last name?
Sure. My name is John Tedeman. It's T-E-D-E-M-A-N.
Do you work, sir?
I do.
What do you do for work?
I am a private investigator.
Do you work for someone else, or do you have your own firm?
I have my own firm.
What is the name?
Forum Investigations.
And that's F-O-R-U-M?
Correct.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about your education and work history. You're from this area?
Yes, Boston proper.
I'm sorry?
Yes, from Boston.
Where did you attend high school?
The Roxbury Latin School.
When did you graduate?
1996.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Princeton University.
What year did you graduate?
2000.
What did you do after graduation from Princeton University?
I became a federal agent.
Where?
The agency or the location?
Oh, I meant the location. Sorry.
I started out in Los Angeles, and then I was back in Boston.
And what years were you a federal agent in Boston and Los Angeles?
2002 through 2008.
And what agency did you work for?
I worked for the Inspector General for the Social Security Administration, Office of Investigations.
And what type of work did you do in terms of investigations?
We did fraud investigations, identity theft, credit card fraud, fugitive operations, all sorts of things, anything involving a Social Security number, basically.
And why did you leave in 2008?
I went to law school.
Where?
Suffolk.
What year did you graduate from Suffolk Law School?
2013.
And what did you do after graduation from Suffolk Law School?
I've had a small solo law practice and worked as a real estate broker.
And what type of law did you practice?
Mostly real estate law.
When did you start Forum Investigations?
In April of 2024.
Are you still practicing as a lawyer?
Not very much, no. I still have my license, but my bar card, but I don't practice much.
All right. How did you become involved in this case?
I was contacted by somebody from your office last Tuesday, I believe, the 3rd.
Okay. And was it explained to you why you were brought in at this late juncture?
Yes, it was explained that there was another investigator who had a health issue and would not be able to testify. So would I be able to help out with a small assignment?
And what were you asked to do?
I was asked to travel to 34 Fairview Road in Canton and take some measurements and photographs.
Did you agree to do that?
Yes.
When did you go?
On June 3rd. I believe I arrived about 5:30 at 34 Fairview.
Okay. And when you say June 3rd, we are talking about last week,
Yes,
correct?
last week, yes.
Whom did you see when you got there?
One of the homeowners, an older gentleman, greeted me when I pulled in the driveway.
And it was not the Albert family, correct?
It was not.
Did that individual give you permission to enter onto the property?
He did.
What did you bring with you?
I brought an iPhone as a camera, and I brought a wheeled measuring device.
And can you describe what a wheeled measuring device is?
Yeah, it's like a handle with 2 wheels at the bottom, and in the middle there's like a little odometer that measures feet and inches.
Okay. And if we could, Mr. Wolk, could we display the photo of the front of 34 Fairview that's already in evidence with the court's permission?
Yes.
And what exhibit number is that, Mr. Wolk? 46? Do you see exhibit 46 on the screen, sir?
I do.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is 34 Fairview Road in Canton.
When you got to 34 Fairview Road in Canton on June 3rd, did you make note of the various entrances to the residence on the front, from the front of the house?
I did.
Could you describe those for the jury?
Yes, on the left side center of the building, there's what I would call the front door, up those 4 steps, I guess. Then if you were to look farther to the right, there at the end of the main building, there's another door, which I guess is the second front door or side door.
And with regard to that door, is it fair to say that faces outward, faces toward the road?
It does. It faces directly towards the road.
Okay, continue, please.
And then past that to the right, there are the windows, and then if you can see the little red line, that is a side door that goes into the garage. Yes, right there.
It's been highlighted there?
Yes.
Okay. And then there are obviously the two garage doors.
And the two garage car doors, yes.
4 cars to enter. Okay.
Yes.
We can take that down. Mr. Wilk, and put the lights on. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I've placed a photograph in front of you. Can you identify that for the jury?
Yes, that appears to be a photograph that I took of the side front door, the secondary front door, the garage door, and the two car doors to the garage.
Okay. Particularly with regard to the side pedestrian entrance into the garage, the red door that you identified in the previous exhibit, does that photograph fairly and accurately represent the layout of the house in terms of the outside and the entrances that you've previously testified to?
Yes, it does.
I would offer that, Your Honor.
All right, can I see those, please, sir?
Do you see what has been?
So I'm going to ask you to take that down. Folks, we're going to take the luncheon break at this point, okay?
Sir, before the lunch break, you had identified 3 entrances to the front of 34 Fairview, leaving aside the 2 garage car doors. Do you recall that?
Yes.
May I have that last exhibit displayed, please? Not that one, the one that we discussed right before court. There it is. Maybe zoom in on that a little. Okay. What do you see on the screen at this point, sir?
I see the 2 rightmost entrances to the house, excluding the main front door.
Okay, which would be obviously to the left
To the
of this
left.
photo, particularly with regard to the third entrance, the one in red. Could you describe that?
Yes, so it's if you're facing the house from the street, you're looking towards the west. So that door goes directly into the garage facing north.
Okay, so basically from the street, you don't have to enter the house, you can go into the garage directly.
That is directly into the garage, yes.
All right, and as we're looking at the house from this point, are we looking at it from the vantage point of Fairview Road?
Yes,
And that is a westerly direction toward the house, sir?
correct.
In the course of doing your further work that you were asked to do in this case, did you peer inside the garage?
Yes, I did.
Did you see concrete steps and a ridge there and a hard concrete floor?
Yes.
Sustain. Jurors disregard that answer.
You mentioned that you were asked to do some measurements. Can you describe what you were asked to do for the jury?
Yes, I was asked to measure from basically the mailbox area of the driveway to the various entrances to the house.
Did you take those measurements?
I did.
Okay, if I'd like to take them one at a time. First, did you measure from the end of the driveway next to the mailbox all the way to the main front door, which is not depicted on this photo?
Yes, I did.
How did you measure it?
I used my wheeled measuring device, and I walked directly across the lawn to the front door, well, to the bottom of the front steps, and then used it to go up the front steps straight to the door.
And what was the measurement, if you recall, from the mailbox area near the end of the driveway to the main front door on the left?
I believe it was 65 feet 9 inches, but I have notes if I
think you got it right, sir.
Okay.
Next, did you measure from that same location near the street, the end of the driveway next to the mailbox, to the second front door, which is actually depicted in the exhibit that's on the screen?
I did.
And how did you measure that?
I walked along the edge of the driveway on the asphalt right next to the grass, towards the house from the mailbox and the edge of the street, towards the house. I took a left onto the brick walkway, proceeded along that walkway, then took a right to the walkway that you can see right there, heading directly to the door, and went up onto the little decking area, and then those 2 steps directly to the doorstep.
Okay, so you walked essentially almost the whole length of the driveway?
Yes.
Before you took the left to get to where the steps start, going to that second front door?
Yes.
And then went up to the door itself?
Yes.
Do you recall from your memory what the measurement was?
I believe it was 70 feet 1 inch.
And finally, did you measure from that same end of the driveway near the street next to the mailbox to the red side door, which is the pedestrian entrance into the garage directly?
I did.
How did you measure that?
I did the same thing, walking directly from where the mailbox and the driveway intersect, basically, all the way up the driveway, took the same left onto the red brick pathway, took a right to go towards the front door, went up the 1 step that you can see, and then instead of going up the next 2 steps, I took a right directly towards the garage entry door.
So essentially the same path of travel, it's just you didn't go straight into the second front door, you took a right to go into the pedestrian entrance to the garage.
Correct.
And what was the measurement that you discovered having done that?
I believe it was 78 feet 3 inches.
Now, finally, could we have displayed the map of Cedar Crest, Fairview, and Chapman? There it is. Sir, are you able to see the street names from where you are? And if
Yes.
not, could we have the top street magnified so that the witness can see it? Okay, you see that?
I do.
What do you see that to be?
Cedar Crest Road.
Okay, if we could have the connecting street where the, that's it.
Fairview Road.
All right, and finally, the one down the bottom?
Chapman Street.
Okay, if we can get the whole map back up. Having seen those 3 street names, does that orient you as to what this is a map of?
It does.
And what is that?
This is the surrounding area of 34 Fairview Road, the neighborhood, basically.
Okay, and it includes the 2 connecting streets on either end?
Correct.
Does the red dot symbolize anything for you?
It looks to be where 34 Fairview Road is located.
Okay, and if you're on Fairview Road to the right of that red dot as it exists on that exhibit, and you're looking toward Fairview Road, what direction would you be facing?
It'd be facing west.
If I may have a moment, please.
Okay.